Morning. A butterfly lands softly on the petal of a starflower. 9,000 miles away, a small Fijian hurricane sends a gust of residual wind, causing the butterfly to flap its gossamer wings. The wispy downdraft from the butterfly's wing flap rouses some unseen pollen particles, sending them to drift to the ground. This tiny molecular overload triggers an awaiting landslide, which moments later inspires a breathtaking cascade of rock slides. The tumbling boulders generate a breeze, which fans a nearby campfire, causing it to flourish, sharing its warmth with the surrounding kindlescape. Nearby trees respond in turn by bursting into brilliant orange flames. The butterfly is now embraced by a warm cloud of smoke. The flying caterpillar coughs quietly, and we are left to wonder, what will happen to the butterfly? To the trees, to the tumbling rocks, to the other trees in the hurricane? The answer is fascinating.
The Earth is our home, but it is also so much more. It provides materials for us to build smaller homes on top of it. It gives us a cornucopia of water and food. It also tells us what outfits to wear by changing its temperature almost daily. In turn, we do a lot for our soil-filled matriarch. We prune it to make it more presentable to other planets. We adorn it with our architecture and lawn furniture. And occasionally, we even embarrass it with our poor neighborhoods. But perhaps the most important aspect of our relationship with our homosphere is how we communicate with it. We speak to the Earth, and in exchange, the Earth speaks back to us. The question is, are we listening?
Feed me. Don't take my water. Be nice to rabbits. Get off of me. Why are you on? Don't swim there. Don't swim on that side of the ocean. Slow down. Take care. Be gentle. That's not your snow. That's not your snow. I like that building.
The Earth started off as nothing more than a small, fiery star. Then, 4 billion years and 2 months ago, this tiny but powerful force of energy began attracting passing asteroids and space rocks onto it, like a gravitational magnet. They piled up around the star center, building a geological crust, which encased the star, first turning it into a moon, and then amassing enough soil to make it a bona fide planet. The largest of these asteroids that crashed into Earth landed and broke apart, their pieces piling up to form what we call today mountains. As a young planet, Earth was mostly peaceful and smooth, like a baby. But eventually, it became agitated and bumpy, like a teenager, reaching its puberty. Volcanoes erupted. Hair sprouted in the form of tall grasses and weeds, which caught fire. The ground split apart, gushing poisons and gases, which exploded, creating the oceans. This was a period that one could equate to a veritable hell on Earth, one whose legacy can still be felt today in places such as Afghanistan and New Jersey. This period of tumultuous upheaval caused the Earth's only landmass, called continentia, to break apart into several pieces, which today we call continents. And these continents broke into smaller pieces called islands, and these islands broke into smaller pieces called rocks, which broke into still smaller pieces called sand. And then that was it, as far as the breaking up process was concerned. The oceans, no longer boiling, began to cool and settle, and finally, an equilibrium was reached. tranquility spread like a virus across the now mature Earth, which looked much like the planet we know today, but without any people, or billboards, or buses, or other vehicles, and other things. And now, centuries later, the peaceful nature of our planet today belies the tumult hiding just beneath its surface. The Earth is in a constant struggle with its star's center, continually working to keep itself from exploding. But how does it do it? How does this planet keep itself balanced and not burst into fire everywhere? The answer is found in the Earth's cycles.
This narrow, deliberate mountain stream is a perfect example of one of our planet's natural self-sustaining cycles. The water starts at the top of the mountain and makes its way into this narrow channel, heading toward the bottom, rushing, gushing, gaining speed, more and more momentum. The rocks, their sides slick, accelerate the water as it passes, making its way to the very bottom, where it turns and then shoots back up the other side of the mountain until it reaches the very top, makes another turn, and begins its journey once again back down to the bottom of the mountain. A fascinating feat of natural engineering.
The stream is just a small example of one of the Earth's many wondrous cycles. One of the sturdiest of Earth's cycles is the rock cycle. Rocks in the ground are broken down by weather and pushed underground, where they start to burrow. Rocks will meet up with other rocks along the way and stick together thanks to gravity and their natural magnetic properties. These fused rocks then head to the center of the Earth, where they reproduce and create new layers which then reemerge on the Earth's surface in the form of lava, which in turn creates more rocks. The direct opposite cycle is something we call the water cycle. Most of the water on Earth is located in the oceans. The sun shines down on these oceans, and the light from the sun's rays enters the top layer of the water, vaporizing it like a laser. As the light burns the water, smoke emerges, and this smoke we call clouds. These clouds rise up and fly away like balloons until they relieve themselves on us in the form of rain. And these are just two of the thousands of fascinating cycles that intertwine and work together to keep the Earth working together.
Once these cycles synced up, the stage was set for the most wondrous and living of Earth's wonders to flourish. Life. We now know that life first arrived on Earth 1 billion years ago on the backs of asteroids. The asteroids collided with the surface of the planet, shaking off bits of life that fell to the ground and planted themselves in the molten soil. And then it was only millions of months later, when the Earth's cycles had finally stabilized, much like a mature young woman's, that the conditions were finally perfect for life to thrive. First plants, then dinosaurs, then fruits and dogs, and just as birds and mushrooms were starting to appear, something fascinating happened.
And it would aim itself directly at the
dinosaur. They weren't intentionally bad. Now, their fatal flaw was that the Earth was sending them constant, clear signals, but they were so self-involved, focused only on food and dinosaur sex, that they didn't listen. Instead, what did they do? They started a gigantic dinosaur orgy located in the South Pacific. I'm talking the freakiest thing you ever seen. I'm talking 2 stegosauruses on a triceratops. We're talking about just raptors just getting together. The dinosaurs were so large that when they all flocked and in the same place, it created too much of a gravitational pull that it ended up just tilting the Earth.
And it would not only tilt the Earth, it would also create a gravitational magnet that would attract a gravitational disaster. Almost without warning, the Earth attracted one final asteroid. A giant space rock the size of Australia crashed into the Asian Ocean, becoming what we now call Australia. The Earth had spoken, and the remaining creatures listened. They hid in caves and each other, reproducing and evolving for centuries. Fish became mice, moss became whales, and jungle cats became regular cats. These humble adaptations in response to the Earth's fickle and often violent proclamations helped these creatures avoid the fate of their furry dinosaur ancestors. And no creature would better avoid that fate than the one that eventually would come up with the very word fate itself.
The arrival of one species, man, would change everything. The human being was the dominant animal among all species on the planet. But the Earth was no garden variety submissive. Mother Nature, despite the veritable gag ball man would attempt to shove into her mouth, would speak again. And loudly, she would speak. Ourselves living as a biotype, or geosphere, and it's one of the newest types of all spheres. Developed to endanger man with its high temperatures and hideous creatures such as the scorpion or the dirt snake. We don't know what will happen. Desert, only the future can tell us that. These were the first prisons.